I'll be
So it's
right
like,
back, man.
Hey, did you?
all right, Huey, shout out to Huey. So it's like, what he talking about with the manipulation of water, that kind of feed into that whole Atlantis concept because they had rings of water with rings of land in between and shit, and that shit was like controlled.
Did you see Flat Earth British about the star forts?
I mean, I saw a
The
couple people
star
about
forts
Star
were
Wars, so
the
I
star
ain't seen
forts were
nothing recent
built.
from him.
The star forts were
Did
built
he come
ahead of
to a
the mud
conclusion?
floods. The star forts were built ahead of the mud floods to prepare for the mud floods coming. So whoever built the star forts created the mud floods.
So how did they create mud floods then?
And that's another theory too. I wanna the mud floods.
You say they created the mud floods. How did they do that?
I guess they just know all the underground tunnels and everything, and they can just pump the shit out onto the surface whenever or wherever they want. They can bury land, they can raise land.
It has been proven.
I don't know. I think that's a good idea, but I think that's kind of reaching because, like, I don't know. I would just throw in my idea of mud floods. Mud floods to me is the liquefaction of the land. So the vibration was turned up so high to
The
a
star
point
forts
to
are
where,
all over the place, though.
they are. And I'm just saying, it's like I just question. I don't know shit about who could have made them star forts unless they made
Phoenicians.
that shit. Yeah, I don't believe that though. Be for real, I don't know. I think that these star forts and shit is made from people manipulating the earth and growing that shit out the ground. I can't. I don't see how motherfuckers real live just built that shit with men and mortar and brick and all that shit. I think that
Yeah,
shit was just put
that's
out there.
definitely a mystery. How in the hell all that mass of bricks and stone could have been built without some kind of giant slaves or something?
Well, I'd like to say that these forts are aligned at certain positions. You know what I'm saying? Because the Fort Nation, I'm a part of it. They got me members. They got me a high member. They say I'm doper than most of them. But anyway, you know what I'm saying? When you look at rivers and you look at these star forts, most of us are in a masculine way of thinking or patriarch way of thinking, which means we look at everything as a fight. So whoever built them, I'm gonna say who I say. Everybody say whoever I say. We got to look at it. It might have been some women involved that said this might have been a little beautiful, and this is how we push water from and out of like a red light and a green light or a generator system. Because all these places are at the points of old kingdoms. Like you'll find one in St. Augustine, Florida. Then you'll find the other one in Tampa Bay, Florida. Then you'll find the other one in Jacksonville, Florida. But they all fit off the split of the river. So if you ever go to Pittsburgh, that's the best split of the river I could think of right now is Pittsburgh. If you go to Pittsburgh right now, Pittsburgh is the main, it's the end of a empire. Really, it's where the river splits and cuts into two, and it's the beginning of the Ohio River, and the Ohio River ends at Cairo, Illinois. So that was an old empire, if that's the way to put it, or an old source for way. And that fort at Fort Pittsburgh, which they call, I think it's Fort Negro or Fort some shit like that, Fort Hillbilly, one of the two. But
they're always on a river or a peninsula.
Yeah, oh yeah, and it forces the river to go back and forth. Like there were 3 occurrences in America. In Chicago, you could just look up Chicago makes the river turn backwards. Just look it up on your phone. Just type it in, and it'll show you just the forts and a lot of things. It just wasn't for fighting, no. And then
no, they weren't for fighting at all.
Oh wow, brother. Okay, yeah, that's why I was like when people they wasn't for fighting at all.
I think.
My fault, brother. Go ahead.
No, that's what I don't think they were for fighting anyway. Go ahead.
That's an interesting topic, though. I mean, a concept as far as they were built ahead of the flood and to be like safe places away from the flood. But it hasn't there been star forts that was pictured as being unearthed and shit? Like, you know, Flat Earth British, he had a series where he was showing a lot of people digging out old buildings and shit from the flood. Wasn't
Yeah,
there
they get
star
overgrown and stuff.
But a lot of
Like
people
some of
gotta
them
get
are
out this
disappeared
so-called,
into the landscape.
My fault, brother. I didn't know you was talking. My fault, brother.
No, he showed how some of them were like half of them were showing like and the other half was in where the river is now. And it's like this thing about the land going up and down. It's a continual thing, I guess.
We just gotta accidentally get out of the Western way we've been taught and understand. Cars didn't come out until like 1915. So that means when they came out in Detroit and Ohio, it was nowhere else in the world has ever thought of that before. It wasn't a thought nowhere else. So it didn't start moving 100 miles an hour till maybe the 1920s or 30s. So before 1900s, everybody didn't have the manifestation of what the fuck a car was. It was horse and buggy and rivers. The river was everything.
Yeah,
So-
it was horse and buggy after a reset. They had technology, and
That's
then
what I
they
was saying. There was
and then they
boats before
reset it.
carriages.
Now just hold on, y'all. I did not. Let me just say one other thing. See, when like you know what I'm saying, I'm sort of a flat earth American. I'm sort of a flat earth America, but when you say energy, all energy runs off the river like steam and pressure. That's why we had mills in America too, right next to our forts with the big Ferris wheels.
That's
You know,
right.
with the ferry. The ferry wheel is really the Ferris wheel because it was on our ferries that would carry stuff back and forth down the rivers. I'm
Yeah,
just saying that
if you live near a river, yeah, you could create energy. You're right.
every city in America and 90% of cities in the world run off a river. Every city in America runs off a river.
Hey yo, you bring to mind a revelation over in South America somewhere where this river had dried up, and underneath it you saw what looks like the workings on a circuit board. Like you know how you see the little lines with angles connected to a type of a square or a circle? There were circles actually. So there was these circles that were plotted on the riverbed connected by certain lines, and it looked like some shit you see off a goddamn computer circuit board. And so they didn't know that was there until that river went away. So that's saying that they put that shit there before there was a river, and then they used that water current to energy some shit. So that's how heavy some of this ancient technology is. Some of these rivers were made, and if that purpose on a macro level, that means that they created waterways to keep an electrical grid going. You know what I'm saying? Just by their natural flow. You know what I mean? And that's hella interesting. But you know what? I know the brother talked about cars and rivers and things, but we also have that concept of Vimana that we got to potentially put up in the mix, because people did have flying machines if you were to take the Hindu history serious, right? And so when it comes to people with flying machines, I think that kind of tips the balance scale for those that don't have it. You know what I mean?
And we're forgetting about airships. Like all these big stone buildings that are now government buildings and etc., jails, whatever, you know, that
Oh,
they
like air submarines, right? Like air submarines.
they had to have been built with the airships, because like, just for instance, where I live here, all this stone, like this stone that we have here, it's called Tyndall stone, and it's sent all around the world. And even the Parliament buildings in Ottawa are built out of this stone from Manitoba, but there's no pictures of any of these buildings being built. And not to mention how the stone was cut and quarried at the time. And there's no, supposedly when these buildings were built, we were running around in ox carts and shit. So it doesn't fit the narrative, and you can't find any pictures of these buildings being built.
I know. So
See, I got one problem. I got one problem with airships. Airships is based off air, really, and you know it's a wonder in itself that they're able to float. But I seriously doubt they'll have the ability to carry heavy things.
But
because the
Great
way
point.
they live is by light, by the lightness compared to the air they got in the little bubble
But
or
see, when you
whatnot.
talk about a steam or pressure engine, they do it today. It's called it was made in Toledo, Ohio too. The air blimps, you know what I'm saying? The blimps, the combustion. God damn, that Scioto River. Wow, it's the river of knowledge. That's crazy. The Scioto, that's crazy. I'm from the
But
river
how
of knowledge.
far does that technology go back?
To at least 1740. You know
What
what I'm
goes
saying?
back to 1740? What
Yeah.
goes back that far?
But you know, most of these inventions come from over here anyway. But who cares who made them? But I'm just trying to say that I'm agreeing with y'all. I'm just giving you proof. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna just say, well, these ships. I'm gonna say, well, this invention. You know what I'm saying? It was like,
What did you say about 1740, bro?
like 1740, 1750. That's how a lot of this mud flood stuff happened. There was wars, and there was people dropping bombs and stuff out of Toledo-made blimps. And then we had ships like the steam ships, and they all had two combustions. And that's
So
what
that's why after all them wars, it rained a lot because so much when the atmosphere from fires and shit and steam and everything, it caused a lot of rain after the war. So maybe that's what caused the flood. Okay, I got you, Ruth.
Even 150 years ago, they showed the newspaper clippings of the Graf Zeppelins, and they're building one a week. So they had thousands of those things, and all those old photographs with the skies all vanillaed out. And like, it's very rare to find a picture of those old Zeppelins, and there are a couple pictures of them actually tethered to the top of those buildings. And different styles of them look like, some of them look like cargo outfits where they had like a big gap on the bottom where they'd like pick up like a rail car sort of thing. It would be like a container. They'd just go and pick it up and then float up and put it wherever they wanted. They could lift heavy shit for sure.
Okay. You know, I'm still stuck on this concept with these aerial, because if there was a naval war, that's one thing. A land war is another thing. But with that airspace type war, like the concept that Plant just said, like there was thousands of Zeppelins, but you can hardly find a picture of one. And then when you do, you just see one. But I believe they used those on England. German drop bombs on England using those things, if I'm not mistaken. But you know, it's like when you're talking about flying ships and shit, you know, you're gonna run into people with better technology in this shit. And I just can't break away from instigating or insinuating that those with the most technological airships control the narrative to a certain degree.
Yes, and the Americas had the most airships all the way up to the 1800s, where they stopped making them because a new technology came out of Dayton, Ohio, called the airplane. So if you look on the map, Google map anywhere in any city in America, any hick town, any bumfuck Egypt town, you're going to find a old, ancient, Gnostic lines. That's what some of them agnostic lines is old blimp or old airports everywhere in America. We got more in Peru than Peru. We got them by the thousands in America, but that's where old blimps used to just. They're old airports. These ain't no new airports. Airports ain't new in America. Airports ain't new in the world. If you had a blimp, you had to land it somewhere, and the reason they went extinct, if that's the right word, or the reason they got prohibited is because they changed them up from wood, where you put them in a wood oven, and they changed them up to oil and gas, and they start crashing into buildings and blowing the whole buildings up. But I digress.
So, damn, is we not live no more?
Yeah, we
No,
live on Knowledge Uprising now.
Okay, I gotta switch over then.
Yeah, we
I
on
was
Knowledge
up there trying to watch the chat. Yo, the DJ. Yo, DJ. So,
now, is it
so
possible? I just want to throw this
the
out there.
thing that I want to
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say that is it possible that ever since the flood, that the waters are still receding to this day?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I
Because
think that
California
there's
used to
as
be
a
an
matter
island.
of stability. Yeah, but they would have to go somewhere. There have to be some pockets in the earth that they could go away in.
And
that's what
a
they
lot of
God
these,
forbid they evaporate,
That's what
and
they
these,
call
build in
stagnant water.
cloud, because if they build in cloud, then we're going to expect some rain.
They say there's 85,000 dams and reservoirs in America that hold 17 to 19% of our water. So if them 85,000, you can just look it up. You know, it's Wikipedia easy. But if you let them reservoirs and dams flow their natural course, we will see the natural ways of Americas, and that's why a lot of the cities that we stay in, there'll be like sometimes there'll be floods, or they'll be having us in flood zones because that's where old rivers and stuff used to be. But I digress though.
now
So,
I know I
yo,
remember
when it
watching one of
comes to
these.
these Vaimanas, I just want to say this, and then y'all could take it wherever. But I just want to say, remember, when it comes to these Vaimanas, they had the ability to drop bombs, shoot beams of lasers, and basically do aerial war shit. And it might be maybe two concepts or incidences in which aerial wars amongst the quote unquote gods. Now, this is the thing. Them motherfuckers was these fake gods. These people claiming to be the gods. They was gods over everybody else, most likely due to their goddamn technological advances. So there's like two instances that I could think of. And that's the Mahabharat, the Vedic wars, right? The Vedic history about wars with these Vaimanas. And then you have an account in Germany back in somewhere where they in like the early hundreds, where there was an aerial battle seen in the sky, and it was depicted and talked about, right? But other than that, you don't get no type of aerial battle reference. So I just want to say again that, like, in the Mahabharat or one of them joints, they was using atomic weapons.
Oh yeah, the
You
one
know what
you
I'm saying?
showed with
This is why the dude that Oppenheimer, when he saw the atomic experiment in the desert in America, he said a quote from the Mahabharat, because he knew that was the exact same type of weapon that they was using.
oh yeah, the picture you had with the cylinders and the balls in the sky and that.
Yes, that's it.
Hitler supposedly found one of
They
those
got wars
Vaimanas,
that's
right?
going on in America too, though. Like they're all cities in America's had airplanes too, and there's a movie called in San Francisco, the aliens of San Francisco or something, talking about the blimps that just was going around and everything. Though I just, you know what I'm saying, and we have a lot of Flint in America and all that stuff. Though I just think it was a regular thing in the world to have a blimp, like a Goodyear blimp. It wasn't nothing special.
Yeah, but I don't think these aerial planes. I think these aerials is different than blimps. Not to say that blimps didn't exist. I'm saying that it seemed to be. I don't know. I think it would be kind of fucked up if a blimp dropped a bomb on somebody. But I'm just saying, like it seemed that these things had the ability to do real good speeds and to do maneuvers and probably couldn't do. Right. So it's like, are you talking about the Battle of Los Angeles, Root?
I wish you would have named that.
Huh? Well, the Battle of Los Angeles is a very well a recorded account of a so-called UFO flying over Los Angeles sometime after World War II, and the military shot hella artillery at this thing, and there was people that died due to the falling of the shells, like civilians, American civilians died because of all the munition that was shot at this thing falling onto the population and shit. And there was people that's in a living, like within a lifespan, they were able to tell about the thing. And so there's a real good picture of it.
And then was
And
blimp.
that picture, see, this is the thing. When you say blimp, you know, it's like how technologically advanced is the blimp? Because I'm pretty sure the
technology is a Chevette and a Mercedes Benz, man. It's a car, man. It's a blimp. My fault. It goes off the mechanical. It goes off the combustion, wood heat blowtorch, or there's just like it's a combustion. That's why I call it a blimp. It's an air combustion, and it's a combustion. That's the best I can say.
Okay, so if you call flying saucers blimps, then just be, just make sure you say that because people would think you're talking about the Goodyear blimp type machine. But you're saying that
when you say
that'll confuse me.
but see, y'all might have to start going back and understanding what a combustion is. So when you talk about an airplane or a UFO, hold on. When you talk about an airplane or a UFO, it's a different type of combustion in their wings and what makes the plane go straight. When you talk about before the combustion of that, there was a combustion of the Goodyear blimp, which would make a something like that. You can pick a basket up into the float in the air and go straight.
Okay.
So I'm going off the combustions. That's all.
Yeah, I understand that the technology of combustion is probably more advanced in a so-called flying saucer, but started off potentially in a blimp stage. Like they had the motorized buggy, and then they had a sports car. I understand that. So this particular blimp, right, using your words in the Battle of Los Angeles, was able to deflect munitions from like heavy military cannons and shit like that. So we're dealing with a technology that is probably along the same lines, just further down the line. And so I'm just saying that it seemed that if people had this technology that was more powerful than the next, they won wars.
They would have had some kind of a magnetic field around them, right? Like that's what they would travel in, their own magnetic field it creates.
Right.
So that field would probably defend it against weapons too. I don't know.
To a certain degree.
I heard we was back in the day as a universal people. Like if you was in a boat and you jumped from New York and you said you was about to go to England, there was some type of magnetic understanding on the front of your boat that's gonna lead you to that next city. Yeah, we was going some different type of. We gonna get there through some magnetic shit. I agree with that.
So the same type version of technology was used in Vietnam when soldiers shot at these UFOs. All their bullets came back at them. They were sent back at them as if they was gathered up and then reverse propelled back toward the source. So this is the thing. It's like these people that till this day have these flying machines must have had them in the ancient time also. And so I know that the glory of civilizations is interesting and there's pride in that. But it's like something besides just a natural flood and people's natural ability to politic is involved in the shit.
We owe it to someone else, right?
Real quick on star forts. I believe star forts and possibly many structures that we see calling them pyramids could possibly been grown out of the ground with the technology of magnetic.
What the